Thank you. That's very good.
For people who don't know ROTC, it's not necessarily a pre-military program, but they teach you some of the military ethics. And so you have to be in high school to do it. So we're trying to do a pre-junior ROTC so they can learn some of the program's requirements and fun things that they do, like build rockets and stuff like that.
There you go. There you go.
Maybe with your right hand.
And then with your thumb, put it on your hand.
Good. That's a good one. That's good too.
And then just tilt
Nice.
it forward.
Okay. There you go. Nice.
It's perfect. We just want to like teach people about aviation. We don't like, students don't get that much education on airplanes because they have to do other stuff.
Obviously your wings, they create lift by laminar flow. So wind comes through here, and the way the wing is shaped is that you'll have wind come up here and then wind come down here.
We got 2 activities, and then we're going to go do a contest. So, coloring.
My trophy.
So you could do it that way, but I went long. So we had it here, right? And then go to where this edge comes over here to the back. Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna add some weight to it.
I'm just gonna try throwing it.
I think I have way too much weight.
Okay, maybe if you throw it down, don't throw it too hard.
Okay.
Ooh.
You hit the other one. Sorry.
That's a good one.
We're gonna go Aiden first. The longest, you get only one throw. So you gotta make it count.
For the tip of it, I bent it in to put more weight on it, on the front of it.
I did the traditional thing I used to do when I was little, and it would always fly first. And then I was testing, and I thought to add a little paper clip for weight, and just hoping that works. I also folded the end and then put loads of paper clips on it so that hopefully the weight drives it farther.
I swear.
Oh, that's good. That's good flight. Okay.
I'm just gonna trust on this to.
Hunter. Good luck.
I'm gonna trust on this.
Go Royals. Oh. I think that's first place. Okay.
Down one.
Aiden.
Come on, Aiden, you got this.
Last shot. Got the water bottle. Oh, he got it. He has got it.
It's been really great, and it's been a better turnout than I expected it to be. And I hope it continues to go really well over the next 9 weeks, 8 weeks.
If you can't get in, just put your hand on someone's shoulder.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Apollo!
I call to order this meeting of the Lincoln Public Schools Board of Education for February 14th, 2017. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Byer.
Here.
Mr. Boswell.
Present.
Mrs. Danick.
Mrs. Danick is excused.
Mrs. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Mayhew.
Present.
Ms. Mumgard.
Ms. Mumgard is excused.
Mr. Schulte.
Here.
I would note that the Open Meeting Act is posted at the back of the room if anyone wants to take a look at that. And we have one set of minutes for your approval. Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, those will stand as approved. Next, I would like to, under special reports, presentations, and celebrations of success, recognize Barb Byer.
Yes, I will go and present this to Kara Heminger, and you can join me at the podium. Whereas, and this is in the form of a motion, whereas Kara Heminger, a French teacher at Lincoln North Star High School, has been named World Language Outstanding Teacher of the Year by the Nebraska Foreign Language Teachers Association. And whereas Kara Heminger has earned the respect of her fellow co-workers as well as foreign language teachers from across Nebraska, and whereas Kara Heminger is appreciated by students in part for her willingness to build relationships centered around learning a new language and culture. And whereas Kara Heminger is a leader in promoting the value of foreign language education and helps organize activities in and out of school to help students expand on their knowledge. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Lincoln Board of Education does hereby congratulate Kara Heminger for being honored as the World Language Outstanding Teacher of the Year by the Nebraska International Languages Association. Signed by Don Mayhew, President of the Lincoln Board of Education, and Steve Joel, Superintendent of Schools. Congratulations. This is yours. Yes, please do.
So I would like first to thank you, the Board of Education, for your selfless and tireless service to our students and staff in Lincoln Public Schools. I would like to thank the administration of Lincoln Public Schools for making this an amazing place to come to work each day. We welcome each and every child, and we strive to give each one what they need. I would like to thank someone who died too soon. Her name is Sue Smith. She was a former world language curriculum specialist. She encouraged me to be a department chair, and without her, I would have never even applied for the position. And if any of you remember Sue and her passion for teaching and learning, you can see why I carry her torch. I would like to thank our current world language specialist, Dr. Jamie Swanson, who encourages all language teachers to be on the forefront of teaching methods. She reminds us all to see every student in our lessons. She supports us as individuals. She pushes those who need a push and supports those who are struggling. She's a quiet, passionate force, and we are lucky to have her here in Lincoln Public Schools. I want to thank two administrators who have supported me in so many ways. They are my heroes. First, Dr. Nancy Becker, who took a chance on a first-time department chair as we opened North Star. Her joie de vivre was evident every day as she cheered everyone on at North Star. And also Dr. Van Price. She took the helm upon Nancy's retirement, and my heart is filled with hope and love each day as I see Van's compassionate and kind heart. She shows it every day to the kids at North Star. Thank you, Van. I want to make a short plug for the importance of world languages being supported and encouraged in our schools. In my opinion, no matter what subject we teach, we are teaching students, not subjects. However, I believe that many students connect to world languages in surprising ways. Students may be lost or bored in other subjects, but they find a fun challenge in Spanish, French, German, Chinese, and Japanese here at Lincoln Public Schools. You won't find any teachers as crazy about our subject area as we are, or maybe we're just plain crazy. We work hard to balance culture with the finer points of language as we help students open their minds and broaden horizons and become global citizens. I ask you, is there any more important job today? Please continue to support world languages at LPS. Finally, I want to thank my husband, Doug, who probably thought I forgot about him. He is a police officer, and many times we share how similar our jobs are. He is my sounding board, my ear when I need to vent, and my guide when I need advice. I am lucky to have a constant, loving partner as I navigate this career that I love so much. In conclusion, please know that I truly appreciate all of you, my colleagues, who make my job such a joy. Thank you. I am humbled and very, very grateful.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Lanning?
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes. Next, that brings us to public comment. I don't have any little blue cards. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Matt?
A motion approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you. Barb?
I second it.
Comments or questions? Lanny?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and hereby abstain from voting on check number 574769 as part of agenda item 8.2.A of the agenda materials for this meeting. I vote in favor of all other consent items.
Connie?
Out of abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and hereby abstain from voting on check number 574545 and check number 574769. As part of agenda item 8.2A of the agenda materials for this meeting, I vote in favor of all other consent items.
Other comments? Seeing none, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Boswell,
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan,
Yes.
Mr. Schulte,
Yes.
Ms. Byer,
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew.
Yes. Next, that brings us to items for first reading. We'll start with item 9.1.1, newly annexed property to the city of Lincoln. Lanny?
This item comes from the Planning Committee. We've been doing quite a few annexations lately as our city grows, and as our city grows, so grows our school district. This particular annexation is about 20 acres at 66th Street and Pine Lake Road, and that would be assigned to Wysong Elementary School, Pound Middle School, and Southeast High School, noting that when we start in the fall and Moore Middle School opens, this area will be assigned to Moore. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the annexation.
Questions? All right, seeing no questions, this will be back to us for action at our next meeting. There's nothing from the superintendent for first reading. That brings us to action items. Let's go to item 10.2.1, the Early Childhood Program Expansion Grant Application. Is there a motion? Barb?
I move to approve 10.2.1, the Early Childhood Program Expansion Grant Application.
Connie?
I second that.
Discussion. Lanny?
One question I would have, since our board has had several conversations about early childhood and about full day versus half day, so I understand that this grant program is not for the entire district program. It's for a very small number of students, for about 40 students. So my question would be, does approving this grant commit our district to going to full day early childhood?
No, it doesn't. In fact, we have the ability to, when we receive the grant, we have the ability to give greater thought to a full day or a half day program. So maximum flexibility, we're trying to pursue as much resource as we can in the event that that's the direction we pursue.
Okay, and then a quick follow-up. So basically, this pilot program will let us have information that will help us make that final determination.
Yeah, that's our intent.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Other comments or questions? Matt?
So is there, I mean, but the grant says full day, right?
We
And
wrote it for full day, but Kara is here. I'm going to have her come up in case I stumble, but we wrote it for full day because we wanted to maximize the resource opportunity. But at the point of decision, if we determine that we don't want to do full day, we want to go back to half day or continue with half day, and we have the ability to pull back on it as well. We won't have the same amount of resources. We'll have to adjust the budget.
So how would we, I mean, could you just maybe tell us a little bit, anything else you'd add to that, Kara?
No, I wouldn't add anything. In fact, in doing some clarification with the Department of Education, some districts will pursue a full day, be awarded the grant, and then changes in circumstances, they are able to change it to a half day, if awarded.
Okay. I just, as I visited schools, and I was visiting 3 today, the last 10 elementaries I've visited, I've asked the principals what they think about full day versus part day, and all 10 of them have said we need to serve more kids. You know, the waiting lists are frustrating to them as principals, as well as my contact team and parents I've talked to on the waiting list. And so it just concerns me. It feels to me like we have the opportunity to expand and maybe do 4 part-time programs, which is consistent with what we're currently doing, instead of pursuing 2 full-day options at this time.
Well, and I would respond to that, we still can. I mean, this, as I understand it, this grant application is not committing the district to a course of action. It's applying for grant funding, and we can still make the decision later on whether we want to do full day or half day. And part of the beauty of this, to my mind, is what Lanny was saying. This is a pilot that's going to help us gather some of our own data, which will help inform our future decision on what direction we decide we want to go.
Correct.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, so this will be back no, this is here for action tonight. Seeing no other questions, then Laura, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Schulte?
No.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes. Next, that brings us to item 10.2.2, resolution for option enrollment students. And I show Dr. Stavum. Who should I call in her place? Russ?
I think we covered this.
Yeah, I mean, this is the standard policy that would be required by the option enrollment laws. I see, unless Russ can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's no changes from previous years. And this basically sets the deadlines.
Thanks, Jim. Lanny?
I would move approval of item 10.2.2, the resolution for option enrollment students for 2017-18.
I saw Barb next.
I second that.
Matt, were you aiming for a second or Jeff?
Yeah, I was just.
Okay. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Laura, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Schulte?
Yes.
Ms. Byer?
Yes.
Mr. Boswell?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Mayhew?
Yes. Next, that takes us down to informational items. Are there any board committees who wish to deliver a report to the board? Seeing none, is there a report from the Career Academy, Lanny?
Yeah, just very briefly, I'd like to report on one of the things that we've changed at our Career Academy board meetings this year is we start each meeting with a presentation by students from the pathways. And at our last meeting last week, we had 2 students from the programming pathway in the IT area, which of course is very exciting for me because that's the field I work in when I'm not serving on the board here. And we had 2 students, one from East High School, who was also involved in the ROTC program as well as the Career Academy, which makes his day very, very busy and very full. But it was interesting to talk with him and also talk with Chase, who's a student at Lincoln Lutheran, because of course our TCA program applies to any high school within Southeast Community College's district. So I asked them, what would you tell a sophomore who was thinking about going to Career Academy? What are the benefits? What are the advantages? And so what they highlighted was that this was a real opportunity to meet kids from all different parts of town, that it was an opportunity to learn what industry standards are in a career that they're considering, and that they got opportunities to go on field trips to local businesses where they could see what things are like in the real world. So a couple of really neat students, a really neat program, and I think some opportunities that just show what kind of things we can offer with public education in Lincoln and in Nebraska.
Thank you, Lanny. Next, that brings us to the superintendent's update. Dr. Joel.
Just a couple things. Certainly there is no shortage of news today, whether it's at the local level, state level, or national level. And, with the legislature being in full session, there's been a lot of conversation, of course, about student choice, about taxation. And, I just so appreciate having board members that are willing to testify and get LPS's opinion across. Thank you, Connie, and others. And then, nationally, I just came back from a kind of a think tank conversation piece, and everybody's on edge with regard to, what does it represent and, what changes, if any, are forthcoming. And I happen to be in that camp that, whatever we have to deal with, we will. But certainly there's a lot of anxiety around the country right now, and there were 4 cities, I think, as I read in the newspaper last night, that had some dealings at the federal level. So, at the end of the day, we want our kids to know that we're going to do everything to keep them safe, and that we're going to continue to provide the best quality education that we can. And we've put some plans in motion that, in the event that there is some kind of an event, that we'll be prepared to support our kids and our families and our teachers, because we don't want to lose valuable academic momentum and try to minimize those disruptions in people's lives. And I say that tonight because we're getting a lot of requests from people that are responding or thinking or hearing or, learning as they go. And certainly we're hearing from other districts around the state as well, too. But we have to keep focus on the mission, which is teaching and learning, and you know, every day has to be an exemplary experience for all our kids. So that's really about it. It's just you know, as long I think until we get some more certainty on some things, you know, we're just going to kind of deal with what we have to deal with as it's presented to us.
Thanks, Steve. Next, that brings us to announcements of upcoming events for the board. And on February 15th, we have our next GNSA meeting at 9 o'clock at NCSA. Next week, on the 21st, we're going to have our mid-year board retreat at 6 p.m. at Hillcrest Country Club. And then that takes us to our next, a board work session on February 28th, which will be right before our next regular board meeting on that same day. That brings us to the point where we would, again, accept public comment. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board? Seeing none, there is no request for a closed session. There is no ESU meeting. We stand adjourned.